move the microphone back. This is a little... Our speaker tonight is Mr. Irfan Chaudry. He is the president of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community of Seattle. And he'll talk a little bit about Islam, about the Ahmadiyya movement within Islam, and about the holiday that we are in the middle of right now, the Eid al-Adha, or Greater Eid. Sometimes called in English the Feast of Abraham. It looks like we may have two additional guests I recognize. Welcome. So, Brother Irfan, the stage is yours, and in kind of a dreadful fashion, I'm going to leave. So that I can go and practice choir. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, in the name of God, the gracious and merciful. First of all, I'm very, very thankful for this invitation for our community. I was just telling Paul of how much love I felt in the room, just sitting around and having dinner with a few of you. As you know, today is a special day for Muslims. It's the Eid al-Adha, which is the festival of sacrifice, and we'll get a bit more into that. I have to admit one thing. As I was told about this event, I had actually put up some prepared remarks about our community, and if it's okay with you, I'm going to read through those, but then ask you to, let's open it up for Q&A if that's okay with you, right? I think it'll take maybe 5 to 6 minutes to get through this information, which will provide you some very high-level background on who we are, meaning the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. My understanding from speaking with Sandra is that over the course of this month, you've had different Muslim communities come in and speak to you as part of your adult education initiative. And so I'm sure you may have questions in terms of, hey, what's the difference between X, Y, and Z? The last group that came in, they had a different perspective on things, potentially. And so, or if you have questions about today's festival, which obviously has a lot of tie-in back to Judeo-Christian tradition as well. So I look forward to discussing all of that. We have other members from our community here, some who are definitely more knowledgeable than I am, and so I may defer to them in some cases. All right? So again, I'm going to give you a brief introduction to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, and then we'll open up for Q&A. We are followers of Islam and the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Islam means peace through submission to the will of God. Members of the Ahmadiyya community are Muslims, that is, those who believe in Islam and hence submit themselves to the will of God. This community believes all things proceed from God and depend upon Him for support and sustenance. Members of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, or Ahmadi Muslims, believe that God needs no support, He has no partner and no equal. Ahmadi Muslims believe in God's angels as the agency through which He communicates with His servants, creatures, and Ahmadi Muslims believe that from time to time those revelations from God have been delivered to the guidance of mankind. Ahmadi Muslims believe in all of God's prophets, from Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, and that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the last law-bearing prophet. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community is a dynamic, fast-growing international revival movement within Islam. Founded in 1889, it spans over 195 countries, with membership exceeding tens of millions. Its current headquarters are in the United Kingdom. The revival that Ahmadiyya Muslims claim to be the sole purpose of this organization was prophesied by Muhammad, peace be upon him, the Prophet of Islam. Ahmadiyya Muslim community is the only Islamic organization to believe that the long-awaited Messiah has come in the person of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, who was born in 1835 and passed away in 1908. He was born in Qadian, which is a town in India. Ahmad claimed to be the metaphorical second coming of Jesus of Nazareth and the divine guide whose advent was foretold by the Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him. Ahmadiyya Muslim community believes that God sent Ahmad, like Jesus, to end religious war, condemn bloodshed, and reinstitute morality, justice, and peace. Ahmad's advent has brought about an unprecedented era of Islamic revival. He divested Islam of fanatical beliefs and practices by vigorously championing Islam's true and essential teachings. He also recognized the noble teachings of the great religious founders and saints, including Zoroaster, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Krishna, Buddha, Confucius, and Guru Nanak, and explained how such teachings converged into the one true Islam. Ahmadiyya Muslim Community is the leading Islamic organization to categorically reject terrorism in any form. Over a century ago, Ahmad emphatically declared that an aggressive jihad by the sword has no place in Islam. In its place, he taught his followers to wage a bloodless intellectual jihad of the pen to defend Islam. To this end, Ahmad penned over 80 books and tens of thousands of letters, delivered hundreds of lectures, and engaged in scores of public debates. His rigorous and rational defenses of Islam unsettled conventional Muslim thinking. As part of its effort to revive Islam, Ahmadiyya Muslim Community continues to spread Ahmad's teachings of moderation and restraint in the face of bitter opposition from parts of the Muslim world. Similarly, it is the only Islamic organization to endorse a separation of mosque and state. Over a century ago, Ahmad taught his followers to protect the sanctity of both religion and government by becoming righteous souls as well as loyal citizens. He cautioned against irrational interpretations of Quranic pronouncements and misapplications of Islamic law. He continually voiced his concerns over protecting the rights of God's creatures. Today, it continues to be an advocate for universal human rights and protections for religious and other minorities. It champions the empowerment and education of women. Its members are amongst the most law-abiding, educated, and engaged Muslims in the world. Ahmadiyya Muslim Community is the foremost Islamic organization with a central spiritual leader. Over a century ago, Ahmad reminded his followers of God's promise to safeguard the message of Islam through Khilafat, which is the spiritual institution of successorship to prophethood. It believes that only spiritual successorship can uphold the true values of Islam and unite humanity. 5 spiritual leaders have succeeded Ahmad since his demise in 1908. Its 5th and current spiritual head, Mirza Masroor Ahmad, resides in the United Kingdom.